What's up, otakus? How you doing tonight? Hope you had a good week. Got lots to discuss. There's a lot of things going on. Um, Lots of news. So let's get to it. This is another grading session with your tour guide here. We're gonna grade. Again, I'm just going through my collection and doing sort of a taking a deeper look at my collection, specifically the grade. And I don't want, my whole point with this exercise is to say you don't necessarily need a grading company to tell you uh, what grade what condition or grade your book is in. um, I think grading now is really reserved for people who collect like near mint plus, who want to be sure that the book is near mint plus. Um, and for those collectors, I'm not one of those collectors, but for those collectors who want a specific book in the top grade, where it's sort of, hey, what's up, Nowhere Bound? How you doing, man? If it's a book and you wanting it in near mint plus, and you want sort of um, a professional to really look at the grade and apply the grade on your book, and it's a professional that everybody recognizes as like an industry standard, or having high quality of, or I should say, a high degree of accuracy in their grading. And people have kind of landed on CGC as that service, um, even with all the sort of the pitfalls of their business strategy, the whole weed holdering, trying to make a fast buck on just recasing your books. Um, that revealed a big loophole, and again, we still don't have a response or a. I think they're starting to kind of lower their service fees right now, in certain tiers, but that's not what we want. We want to know that their service is um, what it says it is, which is, when you get a slab, the book in there, the grade in there, everything um, is as advertised. But yeah, my whole point with this is you don't necessarily need that service. Um, you can pretty much grade a book and land on a grade that, um, it's not going to be far from what CGC uh, determines that book grade to be. I hope that makes sense. So, like, like you may grade it a 9.4, or you may grade it a 9.6, but where CGC lands on that grade is not going to be too far from your grade. It may be exactly how you grade it. So that's the whole point. I just want you guys to get comfortable with, looking at the flaws, looking at all the little nooks and crannies of the book, and deciding on a grade, and being confident that, if you were to send it in and have a professional look at it, they're not going to land too far from where you landed. And I know this to be the case for the most part. Because a lot of the books, I would send in, we didn't miss the mark by that much, just either we're right on or just a hair below, or in some instances we undergraded, CGC overgraded. In some instances we overgraded, CGC undergraded, but it was just around that um, scale. And it can be off by, I think the most we're off by was a whole point grade, something like that. Um, yeah, pretty much we're off by like, in certain instances, like a point to a point and a half grade. Nothing beyond like 2 grades. The most maybe a point to a point and a half. Um, and of course, that was when I submitted my books. That was even before I was really comfortable with grading. Um, that whole experience, I sent my books in one massive, like actually maybe 2 big submissions. Um, and yeah, we got better as we went along. And I think even if I were to send in books now, I would think do a pretty good job landing on the grade that I thought the books were. Like my initial screening of the books, my initial grading of the books. If I were to send those in now, I think we'd hit a lot closer than what previously I submitted. Just because during that time I've just gotten better at grading. That's my take and my feeling. But yeah, we all do it. We all grade our books. We all go out when we buy. We do our visual check. If we're lucky enough, we'll flip through the pages. Especially on the big books, I think you should definitely look in and make sure and hopefully your seller knows as well. And your seller should be cool with you checking the grade on a big book. If they're not, then you know that's not cool. um, but yeah, so we're gonna grade 5 books today from my collection, and I'll kind of go through them real quick, and then we'll do a deeper dive. So we're doing Action Comics. What is this? So I'm going through my Action Comics. I don't have a big collection of Action Comics. I do want to add more Action Comics into my collection, and I'm kind of torn because I had an opportunity to pick up, actually, like, Superman comics were fairly cheap. And what I've been noticing, though, especially over the past, couple months since Superman Legacy, like the casting was announced and all that, Superman books, especially the key books, have been steadily trending up. Um, and that makes it harder for like a Superman collector. I'm still, doing my Superman Neil Adams journey. I haven't been able to pick up a lot of those just because, like, none of my LCSs have that Neil Adams run on Superman. But yeah, I mean, I'm still focused on it. It's just, it has to. I'm kind of reserved to not buying it online, um, and trying to find it at my local shops. But yeah, it's hard to find those specific Superman issues, especially in like the grade I wanted. I'm wanting it in a, it doesn't have to be like high grade, but I'm wanting it in like a nice mid grade, presentable mid grade copy. So yeah, It's going well. Thanks for asking, Nora, about. And we've got actually a Neil Adams Superman, but it's Action Comics, not the Superman. But yeah, I want to collect that mirror run between Neil and Jim in terms of the numbers. I think it's like 208 through 215. It's kind of like Neil and Jim's run. I'm still That's something. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it. It's kind of like it was in the back of my head. It's always there, but I should probably focus it on it more this year. All right, well, let's get to some grading. So we're gonna again. I'm keep getting to go through the books. We got Action Comics 468, Action Comics 544, Action Comics 513, Action Comics 584, and then we're going to do a I believe I believe this is an Amy book. It's an Amy book, but for some reason, and Amy's last name is not Vaughn, but for some reason there's a Vaughn. Is that a Vaughn or what? I'm thinking that's a Vaughn. There's a Vaughn written on there, but we're gonna grade Action Comics 307 as well as our last book. So stick around. We're just gonna methodically go through each of these books and come, land on a grade here. All right, so I'm gonna just point the camera down. Let's see here. Yeah, it looks like Vaughn. Not liking that angle. There we go. That's a decent angle here. All right, like as we get to grading, I'm just gonna pull it out. Neil Adams, I think his approach for comic books was that, and I don't know if this might have changed over the years, but he does a lot of artwork of young children. In fact, I believe he even paid homage to his young daughter when she was born. Kind of character, bringing her likeness into the comics. On certain books, and I found that really kind of cool because first off, it spoke to who Neil was. He was a family guy. He loved kids, but it also spoke to how his approach to comic books, that he thought these books were really meant for kids, to entertain, and really, I think, be that imaginative engine for young people. So this is just another great cover where you have kids kind of featured. You got this guy here, this kid here. Hey guys, it's the Terror Man Superman show, right? And then watching this really old school television from the 70s. Just a great cover there. Yeah, but there are issues. So this book is in desperate need of a press. We'll go over. Fortunately, the spine actually looks decent. It's got maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 to 8 color breaking spine ticks. Which would put it in the, just off the bat, something like that would put it in the, I think, the 8.0 category. But what's really, now there's a color breaking spine tick here, but it extends into a non color breaking stress line. I'm just going to show you right here. You got to see it in the light. Can't, no. Just never can get it in the right angle to. There we go. Maybe that will work. Gotta get the right angle or you're not going to see it. So just bear with me. There we go. You can see the stress lines right there. See that? So it doesn't break color though. As you can see, when it's not in the light, you can't really tell, but you can see the stress lines right there. So, this is like, they're just all over the book right now, even in the corner here. It's kind of just a stress, again, a stress line. And those can obviously be resolved with the press. So part of this, the grading is going to be like, okay, the book as is, but with a press, where would it land, right? So assuming we got this pressed out and with the stress lines, it's an 8.0. There's also a corner issue here, breaks color. So that is going to be the major. Let me see if I can. You can see right there, just two very, it's a crease. I would call it a minor crease, right? So that's going to probably take it down another notch to like 7.0. And I would put this in the 6.5 based off. The back looks decent. The back actually looks like it could benefit from some eraser time. So we're going to do that right now. All right, so I got my trusty eraser. I have it ready now. And we're just going to do along the spine here, because I think, again, right, you can see right here how dusty and dark that spine is. So really think there's a room for vast improvement here. So we're just going to do some eraser time and lift off some of that dirt. Do it very gently. Yeah, it looks much better already. So yeah, Deadpool finished up principal shooting, and it's on schedule to come out in July. And I'm surprised they've actually released quite a bit of details for the film already. So we know there's going to be like a Deadpool universe. They're going to introduce like alternative Deadpools. How many we see is yet to be determined. Looks much better already. So, and again, we got Dogpool. I know I'm just making a prediction. My money is on Taylor Swift playing Lady Deadpool. I think that's what we're likely to see, a Lady Deadpool appearance. And the reason I say this is because Lady Deadpool has less likelihood of starring in her own movie and reprising the role, and it's just going to be like Lady Deadpool, and that's going to be the end of it. It's not like she's going to get her own like franchise or movie out of this, right? Whereas Dazzler, if they are going to introduce Dazzler has more likelihood of being part of the main team. Like, and then that would mean they'd have to continue to, address the character in future X-Men movies. So that's what leads me to believe, like Taylor Swift is just making a cameo. It's going to be a cameo role where she plays Lady Deadpool. But the actual X-Men, like her playing Dazzler, if they introduced her, let's say, as a cameo for Dazzler, that would mean when they introduce the X-Men, they'd have to resolve why Dazzler's not on the team. So I think from a writing and just a logistical standpoint, it doesn't make sense Taylor showing up as Dazzler. It doesn't make sense to make Dazzler just a one and done cameo appearance. Whereas Lady Deadpool, yeah, that would make more sense. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. Yeah, all right. No, we're bound. Cleaning season. All right, so again, the major issue with this are the spine ticks and this the minor creasing there, very minor. Still got sharp corners. Again, I'd land on a 7.0 or a 6.5 on this book, and if we got it pressed, definitely it would stay around the 7.0. For maybe I don't think it'd be higher. Well, we could get it as high as a 7.5, I guess. But with this, I think 7.0 would be just fair. So again, current state 6.5 with a press, we could probably get a 7.0 out of it. All right, so I'm just gonna kind of look in here, make sure there's nothing funky going on inside. And then I think that 7.0 grade can stand, or 6.5 as is 6.5 grade can stand. It's a great Bronze Age. So this book, the interiors are done by Kurt Swan and Tex Blaisdell. Classic stuff right here. These books are so hard to... Yeah, I can't believe... So, that's a nice thing about modern books. You've got just better quality paper. Because this newsprint paper that they use for comic books was just the worst. This is the worst. Especially like aging. Because these books do not age well at all. We got the Daily Planet. This is the little newsletter that they had people write in. All right, we got Morgan Edge. A sort of side story here. All right. Seems to be. Oops. A little mailbag thing here. Action. Superman in action. And that's that. So yeah. Again, right here, there's an issue. There's a lot of issues here, but with the press, they press out. So really, the issues with the book are just some of the spine ticks and these minor corner creases. So I don't think, with the creasing here, I don't think it's going to get anything higher than a 7.0. So again, I think 6.5, as is a 6.5 is fair. Yes, Superman is my favorite character, hands down. And I think, so I recently read the alternate story to the death of Jason Todd. It's the one that was released from the vault of DC, and it's the alternate version where he lives. And I have some issues with that book. So in the original story, Jason Todd dies, and then Joker becomes like a diplomat for the UN. He's I think he's a diplomat for like a Middle Eastern country. And then he introduces this gas to try and kill people at the UN. And Bruce Wayne's in the audience, and he's like, oh no, do I jump into action here with everybody looking to try and stop him? And this poison gas is released. And Superman in that story is in disguise, and he rescues everybody. He sucks in all the poison gas and captures the Joker. Or sorry, he doesn't capture the Joker. Joker tries to escape, and the helicopter crashes, and we think he's dead. So Jason Todd dies, and it ends with a Joker getting what he deserves, and Superman being the hero. Okay, that's a cool ending. I can live with that. But in this issue where Jason Todd lives, Superman, and I blame the era. Frank Miller established Superman as this sort of puppet for the U.S. government. He's used as sort of like a military weapon to advance America's, geopolitical goals. So he's attacking like third world countries, and he's winning the Cold War, and he's just an all around sellout, right? Not very positive in that character. But that I guess in that era, it just DC decided, okay, you know what, Batman's the moneymaker. Let's just make Superman a little douchey. And that's the thing. He comes the new ending of the book, the Jason Todd lives ending. Superman comes in, and he's kind of explaining to Batman, hey, look, I don't want you getting upset, but Joker's the new Iranian ambassador to the UN, and he's got diplomatic immunity. So I don't want you going after him, because this will cause an international incident. And yeah, douchey. Superman's so douchey, and then Batman kind of socks him, and then Joker shows up at the end as, they can't do anything to him. He's got immunity, and it kind of ends there. Um, which would have been a very different and drastically, um, yeah, it just would have been a different ending. But the thing I didn't like about, so I was, waiting in anticipation to read that alternate ending, and I didn't like it. I'm kind of like in the let's kill Jason Todd camp again over that ending. Starlin did a horrible job with, again, like just making Superman kind of wishy-washy and in the moment, not thinking of what's just, but thinking of like, international law and order kind of thing. And so I just didn't like the way he was portrayed. And again, it's just a product of the era. It's kind of like, late 80s, everybody was like just crapping on Superman, like, like, I don't know what it was. There just seemed to be this backlash against Superman. And then, that's the thing. That's the sad thing is that sort of late 80s, 90s, like, oh, Superman, he's kind of like a sellout. He's not, he doesn't have the conviction that Batman has. Like that kind of rolled over into today. A lot of people are just, they don't like the character, like you said, Nowhere Bound. You just got people loving like Iron Man. You got people loving Batman more than Superman. You got, um, people liking Spider-Man or Marvel characters over DC. I can get why people would like Marvel over DC. I can get it, but I think the underappreciation of Superman is what is shocking to me. He's literally the granddaddy of all superheroes, and it's about time he got more respect. Like you don't have to like him; it doesn't have to be your favorite superhero, but you have to you if you collect comic books, you should understand why he's the most significant character in comic books. That's all I ask. If you can, if you call yourself a collector and you know love these books as much as you say you do, um, there's no need to trash Superman, and you should really be you should really be wanting a good Superman movie, or at least see the franchise like you know brought back to its 1980 status when Christopher Reeve played him. And that's I think we'll end up there. I think the powers that be, they'll put a good amount of like marketing, a lot of buzz around Superman Legacy. We're already seeing already, and they haven't even started filming. So I think as long as they do, you know, a decent job on it, and as long as it's entertaining and it's got the magic of what makes Superman so timeless and ageless, people will be on board. It's just you haven't had any good Superman content in pop culture, and that includes unfortunately, that includes um, the last version of Superman, which is the how his name's escaping me, the buff dude, the Zack Snyder Superman, right? So anyway, like for me, Superman's a guy. He deserves more respect, and for the people like who don't understand that, Like, I can get, you don't like, if you've not read Superman, you don't like him, fine. You can have, he doesn't have to be your favorite character, okay? That's not what I'm petitioning for. What I'm petitioning for is an understanding that it's like, if we're to use a baseball reference, okay? I'd hate to do this, but if we're using a baseball reference, he's like Babe Ruth, okay? Now you might like I don't know, Cal Ripken Jr. You might like Tony Gwynn. You might like I don't know who's a modern player. You might like Mike Trout or or Shohei Ohtani, and that's fine. You don't have to like Babe Ruth, um, but you should. If Babe Ruth were still playing, okay, that's a kind of like, you should at least recognize and stop what you're doing when Babe Ruth comes to bat, right? If you understand the game of baseball, and if Babe Ruth were still playing, racking up numbers, no matter how diminished in his old age he is, when he comes to bat, you stop what you're doing, you watch Babe Ruth take his at bat, and then go about your day, right? That's the kind of respect I'm talking about. Christopher Reeve nailed Superman, the best portrayal of Superman, and that's what introduced me to the character. Before I even picked up a comic book, I was age 6, 5 or 6. I watched Superman on the big screen. I didn't even fully comprehend the English language at that point, but it was like a transformative experience for a young kid, and that etched Superman as the superhero of all time, in my opinion. No one can touch him. And I get how a lot of kids these days, that wasn't, they had a different introduction to their hero. It might have been the X-Men animated series that got you, or maybe Batman animated series that got you liking Batman, or even the contemporary Miles, movies. And I get it. It doesn't have to be your cup of tea, right? If you were introduced to something else and you fell in love with something else, that's fine. But the more especially for collectors, the more you understand this hobby and the history of comic books. And there's a whole history before Superman, right? So hopefully you take time to understand that history as well. There's a lot of characters older than Superman who are still around today, right? But my whole point is, the reason we have this hobby, the reason we have Spider-Man, the reason we have Cap America, the reason we have Fantastic Four and all these other characters, it's because of this guy right here, okay? He's the Babe Ruth of comic books. So when Superman Legacy comes out, first off, do yourself, if you haven't watched Christopher Reeve's Superman, and I know a lot of you haven't, I know a lot of you have seen scenes, or there's a difference between watching like a 5-second clip on YouTube versus watching it beginning to end on the big screen, with the soundtrack blaring and like you being immersed in that cinematic experience. If you haven't watched Superman yet, you're quick to talk about how you're not excited about the movie, watch Christopher Reeve's Superman first, okay? watch it first, read a Superman comic book, anyone will do, and then go on and, I mean, at that point, you're free to think whatever you want. Okay. But without understanding some like basic fundamental things about the character, don't make that judgment. All right. So I think I for one am very excited about Legacy, and I'll continue to pick up my Superman books. All right. So we landed on a 6.5 for this book. Just going to mark that here in my 468. 165. Oh, another cool thing about this particular book, this is the first appearance of the DC bullet logo. This bullet logo would go from 1977 until 2000, I want to say 2005. Correct me if I'm wrong, comic fan. But we're talking about maybe 2007. So we're talking about like a 40-year span of this bullet logo being around. Right? 30-year span. It's a 30-year span of the bullet logo. I'd love to see it come back. It's the DC logo of my collecting era of it. But yeah, this is the first appearance of the bullet logo in Action Comics. So it is a key book. But just a beautiful Neil Adams cover. Takes you back to the turn dial on the television. Everybody remember the UHF and the VHF turn dials? Jeez, I'm old. All right, so we got that graded. That's fine. Looking good. All right, our next book. We're going with 513. This is a book with many issues. It's got issues. Much like the previous book, you've got the same issues, much like the previous book. You've got this sort of like, the spine is actually a lot better shaped than that last book. You've got spine ticks, but nothing really color breaking, as you can see. But again, when I get that angle here, there we go. You can see there's just a lot of like stress lines there, non-color breaking stress lines, even on the edge of the book. But the real downer is the creases there. That's actually a little longer than the last book. So I'm gonna given that this is a black cover, the spine is a little better, but the creasing is a little worse. So I'm gonna kind of like offset those in comparison to our last book. We got some eraser time potential here. So let's get to it. I'm going to do some eraser time and talk more pop culture stuff. So the other thing, I think in the news was I don't know if this is comic related, but apparently there was a leak of a Taylor Swift deep fake photo. And it was I think it was like not that it was it wasn't pornography, but it was like suggestive and I think of a sexual nature. And no one knows who created this thing. I think it was a video or a photo or something, but didn't cast her in a good positive light, and it was viewed many, many times before it was eventually removed from whatever platform it was on. So I didn't get a chance to look at it. All I know is it was viewed a bunch of times, and it was pretty damaging to Taylor Swift's image. And now they're calling for some regulation and legislation around who can, just basically banning deep fakes, right? Just the creation of them will send you to jail, which I think is fair. You shouldn't be able to slander people. That's illegal. And to do it through deep fakes should be off limits as well. So anyway, I'm not a fan of Taylor Swift, but she shouldn't have to endure abuse like that. So I hope they catch the people that created this. Hope they're prosecuted. And yeah, I mean, that can be, I wouldn't, if I was a public figure and I saw that, I wouldn't be happy or pleased that people are doing that with my public image. And who knows who actually saw it. It might have been like her fans or like little kids, right? That's just not cool. So yeah, it's something we should all be kind of hopefully as a society, be on the same page about. Stuff like that's not cool. All right, so eraser action got this looking a little better on the back. And I think, in order for this to get a decent grade in terms of, a fair shake, if we were to get it graded, I think the back would have to really pop for that, subjective boost to its grade. Let's see here. See if I can't get this section here. Just looking a little better. Yeah, so that was that. What are some other things that we could talk about? Oh yeah, Comic Tom's comic book. That's been big. Sort of in the community, people are talking about that. Crashdown. So we know Crashdown's been coming. If you watch Comic Tom, they've been slanging the book for months now. And that's fine, I think anybody who's creative enough to put out a comic book, and Ryan, he's a great guy. Looks like they put together pretty compelling sort of horror genre, science fiction type book, which is kind of cool. So it's kind of like Aliens, but Aliens, but a different kind of alien. It's a sea creature alien. But there was this sort of huge hubbub over the fact that, Key Collector put it as their book of the week, or it was on their book of the week list. I don't know if it was necessarily the book of the week, but, it's obvious they support the channel, Comic Tom's channel, as a sponsor, right? And then for whatever reasons, they went ahead and promoted the book as well, promoting Comic Tom, promoting his channel. And there's an element of self-serving, you know, self-serving intention with that. But yeah, collectors were kind of going after the app, or what should I call them? Key collector. They were going after key collector, saying like, look, you're not being objective and all this, whatever. I look at it as just like something people don't really need to be that focused on. I don't see it as a big deal. So big deal. They promoted somebody they have a partnership with. At the end of the day, is that really that big of a deal? No. And I hope, Comic Con does have success with that comic book. It's like, I think what the criticism was there's a lot of indie comic books out there, people who are working and then they've been busting their chops, working, building books, building their brand, building a publishing name on the indie circuit, and they never get their big break. They never get exposure like that to enter into the market, and have like comic shops and collectors interested in their books. And that's a fair and valid point. Comic Tom, used his channel to promote it, and then social media to promote it, and got the app to promote it, and it sort of vaulted all these other indie creators on their first book. But I think that speaks more to the power of his social media channel, the power of his influence on the community, and it was a good way to channel that. So I don't necessarily, it was just very savvy of Comic Tom and Ryan and the whole crew, and I commend them for it. I'm very anxious to read it, to see if I'm sure it's good. I'm sure it's good, but I'm anxious to see how the response is in the community, and if we see more, if we see more of that kind of content, if the story continues, or if we just continue to see more sort of one-shot stories from the Comic Tom crew. But yeah, I don't think people should be hating on what's essentially, them being creative and them using their platform to promote themselves. It's not, that's speaks to his soft power more than anything else. So, all right, so we're looking through this book for any. First of all, this one needs a press more badly than the previous book, and we'll go into why when I get back out. I'm not anticipating. I just kind of do this to kind of show you the interiors, so you at least get a sense of, like, if you don't have this book in your collection, you kind of see the great artwork in these like late Bronze Age, early Copper Age books. Look at this, Batman versus the League of Assassins. Wow, it's got that little great one-page little comic strip there. This is a nice little, love this Kurt Swan art. And you got this little Lilliputian Gulliver type imagery going on. Here we go. It's pretty cool. All right, some Richie Rich ads. I'm not seeing any cutouts or clippings missing. Looks like the pages are all there for the most part. Boom, some Trans Am model action. Mailbag. All right, so yeah, this one is in bad need of a press, or some, like, it looks like somebody like drew lines on there. You see the lines there, right? Like drew on there. So that's not looking good. This one definitely could improve with the press. I think with the press, this could get to like a 7.5. Yeah, this could easily get to a 7.5 with a good press. Because the spine, again, the spine isn't in a lot better shape than the last one. And we're really talking about just, this is still, I think, would categorize in the minor creasing, right? It's just very faint right at the edge there. So yeah, with a good press 7.5 as is, I'm gonna go with where I was on the last book. It's a 6.5. So we're gonna put 6.5 for this book. I don't see anything that would lead me to believe it's lower than that. So wait, let me see here. Is that the book I want? 513. All right, so it's a 6.5. And with the press, I would say it could get it up a whole grade. Because the black cover, there's not a lot of actual creasing on it. Corners are still fairly sharp. Yeah, it's a nice press. It could look a lot better. So this is a book I thought was like mid-grade, closer to mid-grade, just because you look at it and you see the creasing there. It's that just pops, like, and then like overall, like, it just looks like it would have a lot of issues, and it does on the surface. But again, with that press, really think this would visually it did just look more appealing. Got that back looking a little wider. Feel good about it. All right, so 6.5, 6.5. Yeah. All right, so the next book, this is actually just a recent pickup. And man, am I excited to kind of go through this book with you. This is Action Comics 544, and it's like a square bound edition. No staples in this one. It's a thicker book, newsstand, and yeah, it's in really nice shape actually. No creasing. Really, the issues are the spine is a little depressed a little bit, but There's no like spine ticks or anything along the edge there. No stress lines. There's like one tiny stress line right there. It's negligible. I would say I would categorize it as yeah, negligible. Corners are sharp. There's like a little bit, like the edges are kind of furled up right here. Like you can see it right here, I guess. It's a good example. Is like right along that bottom edge there. You can see right there. See, it's like furled. Again, I think with the press, that could get resolved. That's the biggest sort of issue with the book right there. That you can see it right there. There's a good angle. You can see it. But as you can see, it doesn't really need a press. Still, it's like rather smooth on the surface there. The top, so it doesn't need a press on the top. You can see there's a little stress line edge. Again, a lot of little along the edge, just a lot of little edge issues on this edge as well. Let's take a look at the back. Ah, beautiful Tron. The back, as you can see, looks clean. No creases or anything on the back either. So overall, like with a good press, I mean, this could end up high grade. As is, I'd put this at an 8.5, as is. Just, it's got just a series of, well, let's put it an 8.0. It's just got enough accumulation of just very minor issues. I'd say 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 minor issues. So yeah, easily would put this at an 8.5, 8.085. With a press, we're in the 9s for sure. With a good press, if you can press out all that, those get that edge really looking straight and sharp, this would be in the 9s for sure. Now, this is a key book for several reasons. First, it's one of these anniversary editions for Action Comics, the 45th fabulous year of Action Comics. It also has contributions from Cary Bates, Kurt Swan, Murphy Anderson, Marv Wolfman, Gil Kane, George Perez, Ed Hannigan, and a story by Siegel and Schuster, the original creators for Action Comics. So, just all around, it's got the, an all-star sort of cast of creatives that worked on the book. I'm not going to, wow, look at this great art too. Look at that. Luther Unleashed. The other real key thing about this book is they redesign Luther, who, if you remember from the 80s cartoons, this was his sort of bread and butter costume, that purple suit. And yeah, basically they introduced the warsuit, which makes him, like, sort of like, kind of gives him super strength and superpowers. And he can fly and all that. So that's a real cool, aspect of this book. It's the first appearance of that warsuit. They also reintroduce Brainiac, and Brainiac comes as this like kind of like this robotic character now, like more like an android, and he's introduced in that new design as well. So yeah, I think nothing's missing out of this book. There's a good shot of the new Brainiac. Right, so just a really cool trip down memory lane for us older collectors. And I know this was trending because of that key feature, but I hope hope this is a book that you would consider getting, because it's just a great issue from the run of Action Comics. And I think for all of us, if you're a Superman fan, this is just definitely floating a boat. So I'm going to land on an 8.5 on this grade, and put it at a 9.0. Put it at a 9.0 with a press or higher. I mean, this could really be high grade with a good press. That's all it needs. Just, I mean, the color, the page quality, everything about this book screams high grade. You just press out those minor sort of imperfections with the book, it would just be solid high grade. All right, we got 2 more books left here, but let me put in the grade of this book. We're going to say it's an 8.5. Luther's War Suit first appearance. All right, now we're going to get to one of my favorite covers, because it features, first off, it features Superman just beating the crap out of the new Teen Titans. But yeah, you got a new Teen Titans appearance. You got great John Byrne artwork. Dick Giorgiano on inks. Just a great sort of action cover right there. Love it. Yeah, and this kid is the one who's controlling him. So let's get to the grade here. I don't think this necessarily has a need for eraser time. It looks very white. And outside of a spine tick here, non-color breaking spine tick here, I don't see really any issues with the book. I'm going to look at the back, may reveal something different. Oh, the back looks good too. Got the Karate Kid. I was telling in an earlier video how I wanted this toy. It never showed up where I lived. I don't know if it was a regional. I just never saw any evidence of Karate Kid at Kmart, at Toys R Us. It was just never around in my area. And I wanted to get it. I remember like specifically being like, I got to get the Karate Kid action figures. Got to get Mr. Miyagi. Got to get Daniel. Never came. So interesting. Yeah, I want to get the ninjas too. Yeah, we want to get the ninjas. Yeah, back looks real clean. I'm trying to show you the light, real clean. Yeah, I'd put this in very, very high grade. Again, that one spine tick there, I don't necessarily think a press would get that out. Might actually break color and make it exacerbate it. This, for the most part, doesn't need a press. I think as is, it's a solid 9.0. It's a 9.0 book. Just going to look inside and just confirm. I don't anticipate. Oh, look at this beautiful burn art. My goodness. Yeah, nothing's cut out of this book. It's looking really pretty. That burned Superman art. All right, so we've got Wonder Girl, Cyborg, Beast Boy there. Defeated in defeat in this beautiful edition of Action Comics. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad I went through this book because I just was like kind of like under the impression, this is an 8.5, just without having really done a due diligence on a collection. I think a lot of us fall into this trap. We have books in our collection. We kind of have an idea what the grade is, but not really. But after looking over this book, I'm really confident that this is a 9.0 or higher. It's just fabulous in terms of how it looks, the back, everything. So real good pickup on my part. And yeah, this is a 9.0 all day long. And it doesn't even need to press. Like, that's the thing. Like, I've been putting sort of the books that need press in blue. Right? All of these need to press pretty much. I'll do that later. But this one does not need to press. So let's see. 584. .584 is going to be a 9.0. And that's conservative. I think it actually could be higher. Yeah, could be higher. But we're going to just conservatively put it at 9.0. It's near mint. We'll just say that. It's a near mint. 9.4, 9.3, 9.4. Yeah, actually near minus, but again, 9.0, between a 9.0 and a 9.4. So we'll go conservative and just say 9.0. I've been pretty conservative with the grading. If you go back and watch my previous videos, I tend to I think over analyze the flaws, overemphasize the flaws. I know a lot of collectors that do the opposite. They'll take a 5.0 book and they'll just say, oh, it's a 6.0. They just kind of arbitrarily upgrade the book. Whereas I think I would trend on downgrading the book. Just really focusing on the issues. All right, I don't know why I put this in the centerpiece, but we're not going to do that. We're going to put this in the back here. And this book is in rough shape, man. All right, so we've got a low grade Adventure Comics here. As you You can see the cover is detached. Let's just give it an open here, see how far. So the cover's still attached. The paper is very, very, very brittle. So this is it's like I want to say right now it's a 2.0, but I'm thinking it's worse. You got a whole back section of the spine missing there. Whole little section there missing. It's chipped right along the edges there. No major creases. There's like some moderate creasing here along the edge. There's some major fading right there along the top of the book, some fading along the top corner there. You got Vaughn written on there. That's not cool. Maybe Vaughn is Amy's boyfriend. I don't know. There's a whole section missing here. Some kind of faded and ripped off there. These are all major flaws. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I would say like 6 or 7 major flaws. Does present well though, just that front cover. And the cover is still attached, surprisingly. This is a Silver Age book. Got that comic book stuff. Yeah, just some amazing artwork here. Some bizarro action going. Let's open up the back here. Yeah. Not even going to attempt to do any kind of eraser action on this book. It's so brown. If you were to get it white, it would just look artificial. So we're going to keep it brown. We're going to keep the back cover tan. Got Legion of Superheroes backstory there. Got the Smallville mail sack. It's cool. Tootsie Roll Rocket. Lana Lang. Boom. I all love Lana. Oh, another piece of interesting news was, and this is, there's no real meat to this story as of yet, but Tom Welling, first off, I hope you guys are watching. This is a great front cover here. Look at that. This is beautiful. The Confession of Superboy. All right, so let's first of all grade this and then get into the Tom Welling stuff. I am going to put this at a solid 1.5. 1.5. Yeah. There's just too much. There are too many issues. There's like a tear here. Big back set. But I mean, it does present really well, minus the Vaughn writing. But this is kind of like a book that I'll keep. But I think moving forward, I think I've landed on a grade. I wouldn't want to go lower than a 2.5 to own a book. If it's grading lower than a 2.5, then I don't probably shouldn't add it to the collection. And this is, I think, the second so far in this. While we've been grading, this is the second book third book that falls below a 2. So this, I'm going to put this as a 1.5. And it presents, I think it's better than, like, just looking at it, it looks better than it actually is. But that's not saying much, because when you get into the book, you realize, oh, okay, this is not a good condition book at all. So this is what, number 307, Adventure Comics, first Elemental Lad appearance. And I'm going to put it as a 1.5 with all the issues. All right, so we've gone through the grading. I want to come back to the last point I was making, and then we'll call it a night, which was Tom Welling recently said that he would be open to coming back as Superman or continuing this Smallville saga and come back as Superman. Now, what's interesting about that is, first off, Tom Welling's aged quite a bit. He's not the slim, peak physique condition that he was when he was playing the character 20 years ago. It's been 20 years already. Jeez, it's been 20 years. So we're just putting that out there. Superman, I think we've established Superman does age, but he doesn't age like we do. His aging is much slower. It's different. So Tom Welling coming back, if they were to do a modern take on Smallville, I guess you could work in the fact that, yeah, Superman's aged, but he'd have to get in shape. He'd have to get in real good shape, like lose a lot of weight, put on some muscle, which I'm sure he could do. He did that for 10 years on the show. If he was motivated enough, if he had new life to his acting career, I'm sure he would go through the training regimen to get back in shape. And I think though, for me, given his age, and if he were to get back into physique, he would look great as like a Earth 1 Superman, right? Like I could see him just, aside from Smallville, like obviously he's moved on from Smallville and he's now had a career. Let's say he comes back and he plays like an Earth 1 Superman in, in the contemporary times. That would be cool to see. I wouldn't necessarily need to see, what's her name? I'm forgetting the actress's name who played Lois Lane. I wouldn't need to see Lois Lane like aged. We wouldn't need to see like Kristen Crook play an aged Lana. We wouldn't need to see, well, maybe Lex, I think he could still play a Lex, like an aged Lex. I could see that. And the actor's name is escaping me there. Michael Rosenbaum. I could see him playing still a very good, like an aged, like kind of like Lionel Luthor type character, somebody who's aged into the evilness and accepted that, yeah, you know what, I'm a bad guy. So I personally hope they bring Smallville back. I just personally hope it, but I just don't see how like they can make that story work with the original cast. It'd probably just work better as a kind of like a standalone Superman movie versus Lex or something. Um, I guess you could have. I mean, all of them still look great. Let me just put that out there. The Superman cast of characters, they still look incredible. Um, so just playing their roles in a movie wouldn't be I think a big lift. Um, you just have to like do it in a way where we can all accept. Okay, this is because Lana just disappears. Okay, so how are you going to bring Lana back into the fold? First off, and I think they even didn't they kill Lana off? I think they killed her off. I think they killed Lex off too, right? Like Lex ended up being like this, like he ended up being this like scarred or deformed version, and then they killed him off, and I think they killed Lana off. Just trying to remember my Smallville memory of it, but anyway, if they could resolve all those like things and bring them back in a coherent manner, um, that'd be wonderful. As a fan, that'd be just great to see. But irregardless of all that, if they could just bring back Tom Welling as Superman in a standalone Superman movie, that would be good too. I wouldn't mind, you know, seeing him come back as the Man of Steel because his he did a really good job playing the young Clark, and he's if you watch him on his podcast with Michael Rosenbaum, uh, he's Tom Welling has become a more confident, I think, uh, actor, and like you can tell he's matured, you know. So I can see him bringing that maturity to the new super, and it's just a natural thing, you know. He's like he was young when he started playing the character, and that fit right in with the Clark and the character. But now, if you were to come back as like an aged Superman with all the experience, it'd just be a natural, I think, portrayal to play. Like he's had the life experiences, he has kids now, so just bringing that element into the character would would just be really cool. Kind of be just a natural transition into playing an older aged, more mature, experienced Superman. So that bit of news, I think, um, that bit of news was a little bit. It was something I was like, wow, that's cool. If Tom Welling comes back as Superman, I would I'd be into that. Um, all right, so I've got some time on the clock. I'm going to end this video. I'm going to come right back with 5 books. We're going to do more grading. Maybe some eraser time as well. But we'll be back. Right. See you right soon.